Well, we have got ourselves a series now with a 5-1 win at home in Game 4. The St. Louis Blues even up the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs against the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets. They both got 2 wins. This series is even heading back to Winnipeg for Game 5. So, what led to the incredible performance by the Blues tonight? Which players have been difference makers in this series, and can the Blues keep this momentum rolling and go into Winnipeg and maybe just steal a game on the road? We're going to talk about all that and more today on Note News. Let's go, Alec. Let's go. We have ourselves a series now. 2 wins in a row from your St. Louis Blues to even this thing up. Alec, how are you feeling, man? How you feeling?
Ooh, never a doubt. I mean, Blues at home, they just do not lose. I mean, looking at it for Bennington, with the home crowd, you can't see a more dialed in player like that. So I mean, feels great. And yeah, putting the Jets back on the ropes after going down 0-2 against the President's Trophy winning team is just amazing. Is so amazing to get that series back tied. And yeah, let's break it down. But the word from Winnipeg seems to be a lot more nervous than that was previously, because I think everyone has seen what the Blues with some momentum can do, especially late in the season. And boy, do they have momentum now after losing 2 close games on the road. Now coming back and just dominating in 2 games at home. Let's go. Let's get into it. This is fun.
Let's go indeed. This is fun for sure. Yeah. So we're gonna break down Game 4 and preview Game 5, as Alex said. Before we do get into it, just gotta let everyone know that we're Note News. We're a St. Louis Blues podcast, and we go live typically twice a week. But we've been going after each game of this playoff run that the Blues are on, and we'll continue to do that throughout their playoff run. Um, for most games from here on out will be going live the day after. So stay tuned for the day after each game for us to come on and recap how they did and preview the next game and the rest of the series ahead. So this is an exciting one, tying it up at 2 games apiece. So if you want to follow us along or follow along with us for the rest of this, what should be an exciting series, then be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. That helps us out a ton. It's the best way to help us out. So hit that button. We've really appreciated the love we've gotten so far. Like this video as well. If you're listening on audio, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow, rate, review wherever you listen. We love to see those. And then follow us on socials at Note News Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So post a lot of great stuff. Announce when we're going live. So if you want to be sure to hop on live, then follow us on all these platforms. But thanks everyone for joining us post game here. Haven't had a lot of time to collect our thoughts, but I think the theme today is just like excitement, and the Blues look like they're back to playing Blues hockey
Oh
and
yeah.
playing the hockey that got them here in the first place. That's the big thing. Is in games 1 and 2, they were competitive, and the team didn't look horrible out there. They had some rough stretches, like rough third periods in games 1 and 2. And that was a little bit concerning for sure. But I mean, the reason it was concerning is because it's like they don't look like themselves. They don't look like the team that we've come to know and love, come to be excited about. They didn't look like the team that got them into the playoffs. Well, now they do. After a couple games at home, I think that set them right, and they are playing Blues hockey again. Huge 5-1 victory over the Winnipeg Jets here in Game 4 to even it up. Alec, what was your main takeaway? This is sort of how we've been starting each of our recap episodes. What's your main takeaway from Game 4?
Just a massive statement win. Honestly, 2 statement wins in a row after like losing 2 really tough, really close games that they really bought and battled. They fought and battled for. Wow, I'm just so excited. I'm running hot today. Um, it's just been awesome to see them, like we said last game, get a little bit of puck luck and put up 7 goals, and then this game really just like stick to playing their game. And it looks like the wheels have fallen off for the Jets late in the game in the last couple in Enterprise Center. going back to Winnipeg, they're the Jets are going to be like scratching and scrambling for any momentum they can claim
Oh
at
yeah.
this point because it is all Blues right now, and it is just so fun to watch. Actually, Connor Hellebuck now is the playoff leader in goals saved above expected on the wrong end of the board. How about that? I
That's
mean,
rough, but
what a
not for us.
series. Yeah,
Yeah.
what a series, what a battle. Like this team's offense was always capable of putting up something like this. But to see them really dominate and win in all phases of the game, offense, defense, and goaltending against such a what is supposed to be such a disciplined and such a like structured team, to see the Blues essentially make the Jets game their own and just dominate them here is just so much fun. Need to do it on the road for Game 5, but wow, Games 3 and 4 put the league on notice yet again.
Yet again. Super, super exciting. Just to provide like a brief recap of everything that went down. So the Jets got it going, right? In the first period, a goal from it was Kyle Connor, right? To kick things off. But I gotta say, I'm proud of these Blues for not letting them for not letting that get them down. This has been a strength for the Jets is holding a lead when they are the first to score. I think I can't remember, but it was a couple games ago, probably game 2 when they sort of flashed this graphic. They had like a really good record when they score first, and they did it in game 2 and were able to close that one out. But this time, after Kyle Connor scored the first goal, great goal from Colton Parayko and Jake Neighbors, who tipped it in off of a really like saucy little bunt or something like that. Like get this man on the Cardinals or something. That was a great bat out of the air to put that one in, and they never looked back. So that was a great way to finish out the first. And then in the second period, Tal Tucker with a rocket from deep. Braden Shen, right there in high danger, kind of smacked Kyrou in the face with his follow through, but got the goal, and I think Kyrou's probably okay. Justin Falk with a great deflection shot from deep off of Pionk, I believe it was. And then in the third, Robert Thomas with like a really great controlled goal in high danger to put that one past Hellebuck and chase him from the game. So um, as I said, they never looked back after that Jake Neighbors goal. And so my main takeaway has to do with like the just like professional mentality of this team. And what I mean by that is game to game learning lessons from the previous game or previous games in the series and just sort of constantly getting a little bit better with every game, right? We talked about this last time a couple days ago, but they had a solid game 1, fell apart. Game 2, it was a little bit more responsible. They still lost, but then in game 3, we all know what happened. Roared to a huge victory, and then in this one, did the same thing. And so, really, the mentality I think they're having, and this is exactly where you want to be, is just Alec. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Be a goldfish, right? This is like the mentality that I think they're having is when you struggle, like move past it, learn what you can, but have a short memory when it comes to like how hard you are on yourself, right? And so I think they are walking the line pretty well of like learning from each game and remembering those things, but then also being a goldfish in the sense of forget. Not letting the losses define you, but not letting the successes define you either, right? That's how a lot of teams fall apart in an extended series is they think everything's going right. They get a little bit too confident and fall apart in the games after. And so what I think the Blues are doing well is after they got the first victory, they didn't let it get to their heads or anything. They still came out. Next game starts 0-0, right? And so they came out strong and. I think that just a really good job of keeping that mentality of don't rest on your laurels, be a go getter, like be in their face, be physical, because you still had an uphill battle to win the series, and still probably will. And so I think this is something that will continue. And really, what we have to thank for this sort of mentality is um, a couple things, right? The the locker room identity and culture, or as we've really enjoyed calling it this year, the power of friendship. It's been so fun to watch this team play together and just be a fantastic unit with a great identity. But also Jim Montgomery has been instrumental in that, and so I think his locker room message and what he's telling this team is probably exactly what they need to hear. He's sort of said in his post game interviews probably something pretty similar to what he's telling his players. And after those couple losses, he was like, "We're playing good games. We're competitive. It's just a couple unlucky bounces. And yeah, there were some discipline issues early on that led to the Jets sort of biting you for it, but they weren't far off, and that was the message, I think. And so it's been a good one, and here they are, just tied it up. So I mean, how valuable has that identity been in this series, right? Like this was a big part of their win streak. We felt like just playing for each other and playing for the note on the front and not the name on the back, right? So how have you seen this show up in the first round here?
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like they've sort of, what I said earlier, like taken the Jets' identity and using it against them, because playing like that undisciplined, bad penalties. That's what we saw as the game sort of broke down in games 3 and 4 versus in Winnipeg. I mean, credit first of all to the team for never letting it get score wise that out of hand. But even in game one, where which had the biggest differential of loss on an empty netter goal, but whatever. Even then, they were still playing and fighting down to the last, horn blow, versus in this game, like even with 10 minutes remaining in the third period, it looked like that identity for the Jets had just completely evaporated. And you had Adam Lowry, who is becoming the biggest pest in the Central Division, and that's quite a title.
And not in a
I
good way
mean,
either.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't know that pest is ever a
Well,
positive term, but
like you could consider Cairo a pest of the Central. Other teams would because he just scores on like
well, okay,
uh,
that's fair.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
mean like good player. I mean
yeah,
like
yeah.
chippy and scrappy
No, I got you.
player.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been throwing late punches like all throughout the game, and then this game, just like the wheels come off yet again for the Jets, and Lowry goes to the locker room and doesn't return to the play with like 3 minutes to go or something. Um, First of all, still waiting for Braden Shen to drop that guy, but back to the Blues talk here. um, I really think that, like you said, like the identity and the culture that this team has built is just so strong and is able to deal with like the pressure of this high intensity situation. I mean, in the post game interview when they brought Jake Neighbors out for his first start of the game, they talked about just how impressive and how much it meant to be playing in St. Louis and playing, for St. Louis fans. They really feel and feed off that energy. Jordan Binnington has always been a guy who's fed off that energy. But, thinking back to, I think it was last season when we saw the Kyrou turnaround where people sort of turned on Kyrou, and then in the
Hmm.
next game they like had his back and he had like 5 points or something, or like 3 points, or a great game. But Kyrou now seems to be a guy who really excels playing at home too, and really just this whole team. I think the energy in St. Louis, the St. Louis fans have absolutely brought it, and that's honestly helped create this like identity of the organization that goes beyond just the players on the ice and the coaches. It's everything and it's everyone. It is the way it feels. It's the players playing for each other. It's them listening to their coaches, but it's also the communication between the front office and the players, and the communication between the front office and the coaches. All of them listening to each other and respecting each other. And it's the communication of the fans to the players that they feed off of that energy, makes them want to perform better. And you see Bucci put up a hat trick and throw his own hat, like symbolically after that third goal,
Yeah.
just rousing the crowd up. You see Benner absolutely fired up playing for the crowd, and just everyone playing at home is feeding off this energy. So it really does feel like it's everything in the Blues world right now is working together because there's clarity here. There's a very strong, clear identity that, we are St. Louis. We are going to fight. We are going to scrap for every inch of game that we can get, every inch of the ice that we can win, every battle down low that we can fight. And it feels like it goes all the way back to every level of this organization because it's so clearly communicated from the moment Montgomery stepped in. We've seen that communication be super clear to the fans, to the players, from Doug Armstrong and Alex Steen, even going back over the in the last offseason. This was always in the plan, and now it's all sort of coming into fruition here with Connor Hellebuck, the best goalie in the world, being chased from the net in back-to-back games. Fans chanting, "We want Connor." I mean, it's all coming up Blues right now, and I love it. But it doesn't feel like unearned. It feels like everyone is bought in and is fighting for this identity to maintain it. And I'm just so elated to watch it all happen.
I am
Let's
too,
go
and
Blues.
yeah, for sure. And one of the most impressive things about that is, on the point of the identity and it being so central and like them clicking and everyone working together, all that great stuff. One of the most impressive parts of that to me is just that they have done this by merging like two cores into one, right? You've got your like Stanley Cup 2019 identity still a little bit, right? With Jordan Bennington, Braden Shen, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, like Colton Parayko, those guys. You've got that older core that was sort of the tail end of your right, like late 2010s core. And at the same time, you've been building up this other core. Philip Broberg, Dylan Holloway, Jake Neighbors, all these young guys, Zach Bolduc. And a lot of times when you see a team try to merge two cores like that to sort of extend their competitive window, it doesn't always work out. You have some sort of conflicting identities and styles of play. This is the example I'm about to give is sort of to this point. Now, I'm going to say the Dallas Stars, right? This is something they're trying to do is merge an older core with a newer one, and they're a great team and have been for a long time. But they still have a lot to prove, right? Still have to make it through the playoffs and into the Cup final with the team they've got. You've got your older guys like Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin and stuff. So it hasn't panned out for the Stars yet. I'm not, it's still early on for the Blues, but I've just been really impressed seeing these two cores come together, have an identity, but also work together and get production from both sides, right? Like what's weird about the Stars, not weird, but it's like what's maybe a little bit concerning is that you're not getting a lot of production anymore from that older core, which is still an important part of the team. But they're not getting the production anymore. You look at this game and really this whole series has been a blend, right? You get Jake Neighbors starting it off an assist from Colton Parayko. Tyler Tucker's the one that followed it up. And then your next three are Braden Shen, Justin Falk, and Robert Thomas. Like, it's coming from both. Jimmy Snuggerud had his great Game 2 goal, right? Pavel Buchnevich had his hat trick in Game 3. So it's like, it's coming from, I mean, it's all one team, but it's kind of two cores, right? You got your older guys and your younger guys, and it's coming from both, and that's what's impressive to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think we're seeing too, like the birth of this new core, like you're saying, and just the way that they're meshing together is something. I mean, coming into the season, we talked about Drew Bannister. The biggest thing he could do for this team was develop the young guys and establish an identity, and make sure they're all like playing conducive to each other's skill set. And credit to Army and Co for getting guys with complementary skill sets as well. But really, I think Montgomery stepping in here and making them so seamlessly blend together. I mean, Robert Thomas tonight played on a line with like so many different skaters. He was initially being deployed with, I believe, Kyrou and Neighbors, which has been sort of a go-to-ish first line, but throughout the game, you saw him deployed with Snuggerud and Kyrou. You saw him deployed with Snuggerud and Neighbors. You saw him deployed with Booch and Neighbors, and just all like mixing and matching, but all of it was working. They all feel interchangeable, and maybe that's also just a guy like Robert Thomas can't be stopped, and you can put him with a brick wall, and he'd still find a way to score goals. But um, yeah, I think it's the older guys on the roster are just playing so well to transition these younger players as well. Definitely Montgomery deserves probably the bulk of the credit, but I really do think seeing like I've mentioned it several times before, but Oscar Sundquist has just been underratedly such a valuable addition for this playoff run. I cannot believe the defensive effort that Sonny's had. Um, you've got Robert Thomas being a facilitator. Buchnevich obviously showing more on the ice, and then Shen bringing that locker room together. Like this team doesn't have the success that they do if they traded away Braden Shen or Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas, which like, yeah, obviously because you're losing good players, but also for that locker room chemistry. That is just so impressive, the culture of St. Louis Blues hockey right now.
Yeah, and it's really exciting. Like this is just the start of the window, right? It's like only better things to come, right? If they can build on this. But let's really dive into game 4 in particular, and I want to start this off with the goaltending again because
A
this is just
masterclass.
crazy. Yeah, this is getting crazy. Jordan Binnington, and one of the stories of game 3, one of the big reasons they were able, I mean, beyond just exploding offensively, is just they were really able to shut it down defensively. Like Bennington let in a couple, but he didn't come under fire that much. This was a bit of a different story. He faced he faced 31 shots on goal and saved 30 of them. I mean, he had a fantastic game today. 968 save percentage. 6 of those saves came in on the power play. So I mean, yeah, Peter, 30 of 31 is just nuts. So Bennington had himself another like legit playoff Bennington game. And on the other end, you have Connor Hellebuck, who let in 5 goals on 18 shots. So that's a 722 save percentage. And after Robert Thomas's 5th goal, they brought in Comrie again, chased Hellebuck from the game again. And I made the point a couple days ago after game 3. Since they were able to chase Hellebuck from game 3, that could have been a huge turning point for the Blues in this series, right? He has a pretty poor history in the playoffs. Now, this game makes 10 of the last 13 where he has allowed 4 or more goals. And let's see, 2 of those 3 games where he hasn't let in that many were games 1 and 2. So, I mean, the sample size for Hellebuck historically in the playoffs is getting kind of big now for, in terms of like there's a case building here that he's not really able to put it together in the playoffs. And look, he is a fantastic goalie. That's not what's up for debate here, right? In like all regular season, he is the guy, and he's going to win his 2nd Vezina in a row, has a shot at the Hart Trophy, but he just seems to really struggle in playoffs. And maybe it's a fatigue thing, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know. He now, as you mentioned, is dead last in goals saved above expected, -7, -7 goals saved above expected. That's pretty poor, and that comes from a guy who led the NHL all year in that metric, and that's one of the best ones to evaluate goalies by. You know, has to do with how they play against quality shots versus, or how they play against shots of different quality, right? And so it's kind of crazy. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So what did you see goaltending wise in this game? That I don't know, like what's been the story here when it comes to goaltending? I mean, beyond just Benner in the playoffs is unreal, is on a different level.
No, I mean it truly is everything. I'll start with the Jets side of things where you left off there. Yeah,
Yep.
there is kind of a narrative building here about Hellebuck in big games and really Hellebuck in the playoffs, I think. But you're totally right. It's been several years now of disappointment and several years of disappointment at the hands of the Blues. I think after these two games in Enterprise Center, where just the atmosphere was relentless for him too, that honestly, the pressure is only going to build. And he's a guy who has shown that he can struggle with pressure at times. And so it's totally something that I expect the Blues to at least try and take advantage of here, especially when the series gets back to St. Louis. I mean, that's going to be a huge test for him, and he's kind of hasn't shown the ability to hang with that test at all in any regard. Chasing the best goalie in the world 2 games in a row, scoring 5 or more goals is not to be trifled with. That is not a fluky offensive performance. That's legit. And so to turn this on the Blues side, it's just so impressive. I mean, first of all, the first the narrative between like the Binnington versus Hellebuck, episode that we brought up a while ago, and then they faced off in the Four Nations. Obviously, there's 2019, and now this series. I mean, it looks like this could be like an iconic sports example, like Eli Manning and Tom Brady performance of just like Binnington
Yes.
owns Hellebuck. He might be the best, but you can't beat Binner. And I love to watch that. But yeah, Binnington was absolutely dialed in. I'll say on the goaltending perspective, just to put up 30 saves in a playoff game is stupid good. That's unbelievable because to get 30 shots in a playoff game is pretty impressive in its own regard. And so to save all of those, and then the one that he doesn't save is just like a rebound after already saving another rebound. He was on the other side of the crease, and then it just banks off the backboards. And was it who scored the goal? Connor?
Yeah.
Connor was just like right there with no one in front of him. Benner
Yeah.
had
Put
no
it through
chance.
Parayko's legs. Yeah.
Yeah, like there that like you can't even say that Benner put up a bad performance on that goal. It's just kind of a puck bounce that went Winnipeg's way. Not saying it was like a bad goal, but yeah.
Yeah.
So to save 30 shots is super impressive and absolutely has showed up both of these last 2 games. I think in game 3 also played. I mean, in every game he's played in, he's played really well. Maybe save game 1, but even then, I think that there was just some bad bounces that didn't go his way. So absolutely love Binner, the performance that he's putting up. And I do really want to shout out also just playoff Binner in any given series. Like with only 2 games to go to win. I mean, I know Jordan Pennington can win me at least one playoff game. I mean, can he win me a second,
Yeah.
especially if one of those is in St. Louis? If I were the Jets right now, like I totally understand why they are kind of quaking in their boots, because yeah, momentum is all going St. Louis's way right now. So I don't know if you have more on goaltending, but I kind of want to make a point here about the defense as well of the team. But
I was just going to mention that our post Four Nations episode, we talked about just the clutch factor when it comes to Bennington, and that was like one of the big discussion points in that episode was who do you want on your team? Do you want Connor Hellebuck or Jordan Bennington? Who would you rather have, right? And it's sort of the regular season performer versus the playoff performer. And you and I both agreed, like, give me Jordan Bennington in that situation because there are a lot of ways to get to the playoffs. Goaltending, like great regular season goaltending, is one. But when you own like when that's your foundation, it can be a little bit more fallible when it comes to the playoffs. Like it can fail you quickly if that player starts to struggle. Like when your team success is built so heavily on one player, when that player starts to struggle, it's tough to find ways to win, right? And so we kind of both were like, give me Binner. And so far in this series, I mean, it's 2-2, so it's hard to say that we were right. But the past few games, I think, especially these past two, Binner is like proving his worth and sort of, I guess, like reaffirming that argument, right? That like give me the playoff performer. But yeah, let's talk defense because this is another big part of the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, stopping 31 shots per Binner is incredible, and I don't want to take away credit for him, but also I do want to shout out the Blues defense here in that they did allow 30 shots, but the high danger chances for the Jets, especially before the third period, were just not coming at all. I mean,
Yeah,
there were so many just like weak chances thrown at the net that were turned away by the Blues defense. And again, their positioning, putting their sticks and their bodies in the right place to get in the face of a Jets player or a passing lane that didn't allow for those high danger chances. And so the Jets put up more of a volume in this game, but I don't even think that I think this is one of the better defensive performances that we've seen all series. The way that they were playing and just completely shutting down the Jets structure here cannot be spoken to enough. So I want to start the conversation there with just how good they are at limiting high danger chances, which is exactly what this Jets team was good at in the regular season. That's exactly what we were saying. Why the Blues match up so well into the Jets. The Jets' strength is their high danger chance creation, and the Blues' defensive strength is their high danger chances allowed being one of the lowest in the league under head coach Jim Montgomery. So, um, it's looking like our like we just match up as a bad matchup for Winnipeg, and that's exactly how we've seen play out because man, the defense was everywhere today.
yeah, it really was. And so, as you pointed out, the offensive, I guess, strategy for the Jets is get in those high danger areas. Failing that, shoot from the face-off circles in those mid-range, not straight on mid-range. They don't do a lot of that, but mid-range to the side, sort of. And so after that, their strategy is to just rip it in from the point. And so that's obviously the hardest way to score. Not that they can't; they have already, right? I think Pionk scored from there in game three, but you look at like a heat map in game one, it is like high danger right in front of the net for the Jets, and then the face-off circles, like bright red. You look at the next one, even brighter red, right in front of the goal. They were getting so many chances right in front of the net. The story though has shifted in the past couple of games, as you pointed out. The Blues have done a really great job of limiting the high danger areas. In game three, most of the shots for the Jets were taken from the left face-off circle and then back right at the blue line. And then today, Kyle Connor scored in like maybe high danger, maybe you consider that mid range. I'm not sure, but like most of their shots in this one at 5-on-5 came from the blue line. And I mean, do you think this is one of the questions I wanted to ask? Do you think this is an effective Blues defense limiting the Jets offense, or do you think this was maybe just a different approach from the Jets trying to get to Bennington in a different way? Because the reason I ask that is in the first period of the game, the Blues came out strong and they were like kind of creating a lot of chances right out of the gate. But a couple power plays allowed the Jets to get going. And even then, when they were sort of dictating the flow of the game and sort of had the edge offensively, were sustaining more offensive zone time, even then they were taking chances from deep when I felt like they didn't necessarily have to. So, I mean, do you think this was like a different strategy from the Jets, or do you think it was solid Blues defense limiting their ability to get to high danger?
I think you could say it's kind of both, because I agree. It does feel like a little bit that they were shifting up their strategy because it had been so difficult to play against in the first three games. Obviously, they won games 1 and 2, but even then, like the Blues were still doing really well at limiting high danger chances and such. They just got the bounces their way, and then in game three, they didn't. But I mean, the advanced statistics kind of agree, though, that the Blues defense here did just dominate because, I mean, Binner, as we said, had a great game, but only saved 0.34 or only had a 0.34 goal saved above expected. like for making so many for making so many saves, to not even have an expected goals of 2 is really just I think more credit to the Blues limiting those dangerous chances and limiting like
That's a
goal
great point.
scoring chances to get um to get anywhere like near the first net. Also, if you look at the expected goals for the the Jets' bottom 3 players are Iafallo, Shifley, and Connor in expected goals in this game. They are absolutely,
Percentage or just in
yeah,
general?
percentage. Um, they are absolutely shutting down this top line and doing everything. Like they've identified exactly how the Jets win, and that's because they have the best goalie with a really good top line. If you can get to that goalie by putting more quantity shots as they had, and if you can shut down that top line as they have, we saw a lot more WTF being played in this game. Also, a lot more Oscar Sundquist ice time being played in this game, but it worked
Mhm.
out really well, I would say. Jake Neighbors actually led the team in time on ice. That's impressive. Although I don't know that defensively he had a very great game, but regardless, yeah, I really think that they've identified exactly how to beat this Jets team, and so definitely you can say it's a little bit the Jets trying new things, trying more quantity over quality, but they still were looking for that perfect pass, especially in the first couple periods when it wasn't so much desperation time for them. And so I think it's the Blues, credit to the Blues coaching for identifying exactly how to stop this team. And I mean, yeah, Kyle Connor, zero point 0.1 expected goals. And I think Perfetti, or not Perfetti, Iafallo and Shifley aren't even appearing here. So just super impressed by
Yeah.
the defensive effort.
And that top line is what was doing the damage against the Blues in games 1 and 2. And so shutting that down has been huge. It just seems like kind of a perfect storm of figuring everything out at the same time. Um, and on the point of the defense, I feel like one of the big issues for the Blues in games 1 and 2, one of the main things that they had to overcome and didn't do a great job of in games 1 and 2 was um, overcoming the Jets' neutral zone defense, right? And so that sort of necessitated a lot of dump and chase hockey from the Blues, and they weren't really able to break cleanly into the offensive zone. Not only have they sort of overcome that and found a way to like transition to offense really effectively, their defense has become a lot more effective in the neutral zone, and then sort of forcing that problem back onto the Jets. So I've really liked their neutral zone defense, sort of coming up, playing at the blue line, forcing the Jets to dump it in. Um, and when you do that, and you have a goalie in Jordan Bennington that is as good as he is at breaking you back out of the D zone, that's a winning strategy right there. Bennington's puck
Yes.
handling in this series has been huge,
Yes.
and I mean we saw it on display today with Shen's goal in the second period, right? That was the like very end of the Blues power play. Technically, it wasn't on the power play because time expired as they were sort of transitioning into offense on that one. But like, it started with a great pass from Bennington to break them out. It was like a backhand pass to the left from the right side of the net, and so um, he sort of got that play going. And then, I mean, that was a great way to finish off a power play, not giving up on it and like recognizing that until that skater that comes out of the box is like in your face, you still have a bit of an advantage there. Um, so that was like a great way to finish a power play. But more to the point, the neutral zone play creating or sort of helps create offense for the Blues by forcing the Jets to dump it in and then just Bennington getting it right back out. So that was really great to see on display a few times again today.
Yeah, I really think that like Bennington's puck handling is absolutely a huge part of this series and how well they've been playing. And I don't know that it's getting enough credit. I think you're totally right. That's a point I wanted to make. Is Bennington's puck handling being able to break up the cycle and stop pressure when they're dumping and chasing, to have a goalie who's so good at playing the puck and getting around the incoming opposing players is something that is just as at least in hockey statistics now is sort of unquantifiable about Bennington's game, but it's so valuable because it just creates more moments of transition rather than defensive pressure or like opposing team offensive zone pressure.
Yeah, it just doesn't let
It's
them get set up.
exactly, and that's exactly what the Jets want to do, and it's so impressive to see how Binner is just able to handle the puck with such confidence and like with such skill too. Like some of the reads that he's making on when Jets players are come crashing in, it's like he knows the exact right thing to do every time, and is just perfect with his puck placement. I mean, the only one today that I can recall is he tried to flip one up the boards, and Falk and another player were coming down low, and kind of his. I think Binner wanted to flip it past both of them, and it didn't. But also that was partially on Falk trying to bat that one down too. But like he always knows where the pressure is coming from. It's like he has eyes in the back of his head when he gets out of the crease. Always knows where he has to be with the puck to not create a dangerous opportunity and to break up the offensive sustained pressure. And that is just so valuable. That is truly like something that I don't think gets adequately discussed when talking about like goals saved above expected and Bennington in big games, but can he handle the little moments? He creates so many little moments just on his puck handling alone.
Yeah, he really does. And it's just like seems like he is just so calm in those moments. Like you got a huge forward coming barreling at you, and I mean, you wouldn't know it by the way he's able to play it. It's just really calm and collected play. So um, that was awesome. Why don't we pivot now to talk about offense a little bit more? We've sort of talked about defense a little bit. What did you see offensively that stood out to you here in Game 4? Because it came start to finish. I feel like there was a bit of a rough period in the first after the Jets scored their goal, and before that as well. It seemed like the Jets were sort of dictating the flow of the game, and the Blues had gone a little bit quiet. And thank goodness for Jake Neighbors and his really awesome goal. That was just really a fun goal to watch. But after that, they never looked back, and so like after that, the offense was just coming, and it was relentless, and it didn't stop. So, what did you see offensively in this game?
I think just their ability to keep the pressure on is still cannot be overstated enough. But I really do think it's still this like what I call quantity chances of just like creating more chances rather than perfect passes, because in the playoffs especially, structure is sometimes it can take you very far, but that's exactly what the other team is going to target to break up your game. And the Blues were very much like a rush offensive team. Their offense hasn't really come from the rush very much in the playoffs, versus in the regular season. It's been more like throwing stuff towards the net, whether it be in that medium or low danger areas. And I think Cam Fowler has been a huge part of that. On that Neighbors goal today, created the pass for Pareko to throw in on that just like home run swing for Jake. But
Yeah.
it's also like seeing guys like Tucker get in on the scoring and Justin Falk get in on the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And Pareko had 2 points in this game. Yeah, Pareko had 2 points in this game. And so it's more like working. I'm trying to like with the dimensions of the hockey rink, like top to bottom. If the
Mm-hmm.
bottom is like where the net and the behind the net is, and the top is the blue line of the offensive zone, it's more like top to bottom versus rush chances. They'd be a lot more east and west, like looking for um slot passes and seam passes and creating havoc in the goalie's movement. Now it's more so creating havoc against the team's defenders, and generating offense in that way. And so I think their ability to pivot and find a way to break through Hellebuck here is just so impressive. So yeah, that's where I would start on the offense.
Yeah, and sort of you mentioned Tyler Tucker and Justin Falk, which, by the way, we should address uh, before we continue to talk about good things. Tyler Tucker went down with a looked like a pretty scary injury, maybe to his knee, maybe to his hip. It was kind of a bad landing. I think it was his right knee. Is had a scary play up against the boards and left the game. And I would be surprised if he came back. That looked painful. He was unable to really put any weight on it. So maybe we should talk before we close out here about that a little bit more. But I just want to talk about offensively. One of the big takeaways from Game Three was the resurgence of our defensemen on offense. Right, like I sort of brought up the point of defensemen scoring goals was a big secret to the Blues' offensive success in the regular season. The Blues had a really high, Blues defensemen had a really high share in like team goals, especially relative to other NHL teams. The Blues get a lot of scoring from the defensemen compared to their peers, and so that was something that was a little bit absent from games 1 and 2 that they sort of were able to find again in Game 3 and here again in Game 4. Colton Parayko sort of created that first goal for Jake Neighbors, right, with that knuckle puck that he batted out of the air. And then after that, after Jake Neighbors scored, the next one up was Tyler Tucker, defenseman, young guy, just ripped it in from pretty far out there and got a really great goal out of it. So love to see that. And then again, who was the next? I guess it was Shin after that on the power play. But then Justin Falk. Like, how about that for reading that play, or sort of reading the positioning of the players on the ice to find that deflection off of Pionk and in. It was like I felt like Pionk was far enough to the side on that one that Falk knew what he was doing, trying to find that deflection off of his body and in. So really great to see defense joining offense again, being a real factor offensively for the Blues, because again, that was a strength for them in the regular season, and I think that's going to have to be something that they have as a calling card for them if they hope to find some continued success. Right, Colton Parayko again and Cam Fowler got the assist on the first goal. Nick Leddy had an assist on Tyler Tucker's goal. Parayko had an assist on Shen's. So really just great to see defense joining the offense again. Do you have anything you want to add on what we saw offensively from the blue line?
I think you put it really well. Just to see them activating more in the play and not necessarily playing all the way back. Although they found ways to score even when they play all the way back,
Yeah,
such as like Fowler and Parayko have been using their hard shots better in that regard too. I think seeing Broberg skating the way he has been really awesome. It feels like he's due. Because
yeah,
he's just been offensively like flying around. And honestly, it really does suck because I thought Tyler Tucker was having a great game,
yeah.
or a great series, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think mostly just seeing them get back to that. It's sort of been like a mixing and matching of the puzzle pieces that worked and the ones that don't. The rush offense wasn't so much doing them any favors because the Jets were good at skating with them. So instead, they pivot and they switch to more passes from the blue line, etc. And so just echoing everything you're saying, that they have found the keys to success and they know how to push the right buttons and continue to apply pressure, whether that be the depth forward stepping up, WTF, or whether that be what we saw from the defensemen. So yeah, it's just awesome to watch.
It really is. And I just want to point out, because most of the Blues goals today came in the second period. I thought they had a really, really strong second period, which throughout the series has typically been a little bit more dominated by the Jets. It seems like they've got a really solid approach coming out of the first intermission, sort of adapting to how the Blues are playing, and sort of evening up the game a little bit more. If it's close or if the Blues have been leading, it seems like the Jets have done a really good job of either running away with it or sort of like getting back into the game in the second. Um, but today, I thought the Blues did a really great job of not letting that happen. The Jets sort of picked up the pace in the second period again, but the Blues did too. Like the Blues didn't fall behind this time and sort of I think did the same thing and adapted well to how the Jets were playing, and then went out there and put up three more in the second. So that was a great job. Um, but I want to talk about high danger scoring. We just talked about defensive scoring or scoring from defensemen from a little bit further out. Mid range scoring was a big strength for the Blues throughout the regular season, and still in this series is where they're generating a lot of goals from that left faceoff circle. I'll mention that again. They have identified that as a great spot to exploit and for or to exploit Connor Hellebuck from. But in this game, they like turned it on its head. Like you look at a heat map of the Blues in this game, it looks like the Jets from games 1 and 2 or game 1 specifically. Like bright red right in front of the goal with three goals from high danger. Some solid chances from the face-off circles, but like how about this sort of turnaround offensively, getting into high danger areas and finally over these past couple games converting on those chances and scoring some goals. 3 of their 5 today came from right in front of the goal. And so again, I thought Shin had a great finish in high danger to sort of take the puck away from Hellebuck, who was like right there, ready to scoop it up, took it away from him and put it in. That was great to see. Jake Neighbors again, I mean, kind of scoring from high danger, right? Just kind of batting it out of the air. But then Robert Thomas, oh my gosh, I could watch that goal all day. Just sort of like a swim move, just sort of scooping it around and as he's falling, knocking it in. So that was awesome to see. Really love that. So do you have any thoughts on how they've been able to generate more high danger scoring?
I think it's identifying the like weaker lines of the Jets and identifying like who you can take advantage of defensively and who like is perhaps going to be a harder player to get around. So I mean, Kyle Connor started 5 of his shifts in the offensive zone to only 1 in the defensive zone. Versus like Iafallo, who's a defensive guy, had 3 defensive zone shift starts. Shifley also 1 defensive zone shift start. Brendan Tanev actually also only had 1, but he's typically more of a defensive guy, so that's a little bit surprising. But Niederreiter, a lot of depth players who you can manipulate a lot easier than someone like like Adam Lowry or like I said, Iafallo, Perfetti, perhaps more defensive guys. So I think they've been able to manipulate the spacing also with their defensemen. Sorry for the stuttering there. And getting the positioning right of their defensemen and sort of how they like play catch at the blue line or with the other forward on the cycle, with their strong side forward,
Mm-hmm.
how they're able to take advantage of the Jets' really aggressive attempts at defense, at least, especially in game 4. We really saw the Jets players track that puck and go after the puck carrier really aggressively. And I think they played that really, really well for the most part. There's some guys who perhaps don't have the puck handling chops, like maybe a Sundqvist or I'm not sure exactly, but who look a little bit more overwhelmed in that case. But even then, I think for the most part, those players do a good job of getting it to the blue line puck carriers who have done a really phenomenal job at handling the puck. I think perhaps that's why we saw a guy like Suter not dressed for this game, is just his puck handling skills are, all due respect, abysmal. And so having a guy instead like Tucker playing on the bottom line with even Letty has like decent puck handling skills. He just probably does a little bit too much in the regular season, but he's been fine, I think, and he's been okay. I don't know. No Nick Letty talk here. I think the way that they've been activating the defense in the play and having the defense like manipulate that space with their passing, with their puck handling, with their movement, it breaks the Jets structure, because that box system that you like to see in the slot in the high danger areas when you have a skater chase after that, and then you pass it down the boards to another skater on your same side, then the one skater who is chasing the puck, he's supposed to fill back into the slot to keep that structure going. But sometimes what you'll see happen is he continues to follow the puck because it's like a tantalizing pass that, oh, if I just get a little bit more length on this, I could break up this offensive pressure. On top of that, it draws in another Jets defender because then he is able to, or he is supposed to be the one activated when that puck gets passed. And then they are so good at just working the cycle, which is just something that we really didn't see very much in their win streak or under Jim Montgomery. So it's so impressive that they sort of always had this in the bag. But then the Blues player, who has two Jets defenders on him, can quickly go down low behind the boards or behind the goal when as another Blues player will follow and crash down low there, or pass it back up to the blue line. And then, if it's either at the top by the blue line or down low behind the boards, both of them have a perfect outlet pass to the now completely open player on the wing. And that just totally messes up the defensive structure and what the Jets want to do. And so I think them being able to manipulate the space in ways like that, what it does is it creates more open ice in the center of the ice. And that's exactly where the Blues have been scoring their goals from. Like you said, in this game, Neighbors, Shen, and Thomas all right in front of the net because they've been able to open up that ice, create that negative space. That's what a guy like Zach Bolduc is so good at doing, is finding that negative space to be in a high danger area and rip those goals. So yeah, it's working, and I expect it to keep working because they are kind of playing with their food at home here. So
That's crazy. Yeah, I love it. Super fun win. Let's shift now to look forward here to Game 5. So they have tied it up at 2 apiece. But if they want to win this series, they're gonna need to win one in Winnipeg, and there wouldn't be any better way to do it than just to keep the momentum going, win Game 5, and come back and win the series at home in Game 6, right? So let's first just that's looking a little bit further down the road than we should. Let's talk about Game 5 first. So let's start this discussion with Tyler Tucker, who probably won't play in Game 5, might not play for the rest of the season. If we're being honest, it looked pretty rough, as I said. So, I mean, who do they like? Who do you play now that Tucker's out? Is it you just bring Ryan Suter back? Do you put Matthew Kessel in and see what he can do for his first taste of the playoffs? Yeah, like what do you think?
I think it's Suter. I think Suter's been playing pretty decently well defensively with the team all season. Doesn't have the puck handling chops, but he's also going to be the sixth defenseman on the roster. So, at that point you can't ask for everything. And I think Suter's been doing enough, and the defense, if anything, you want your defenseman to be defensive, especially your third pair guys. Suter can totally fill that role. Tucker was really starting to get his confidence offensively, so perhaps you won't see as much shot volume and just pressure when the third pair is on the ice, which sucks, but I do think it's Suter.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the right call, right? Didn't he play all 82 games? I mean, he has been a bright spot for the Blues this year. Not really expected to. I mean, I think we thought he'd be traded or maybe even just cut. That's like going into the season, we were like, this is kind of not really going to be a difference maker. But I mean, credit to Suter. He's had a really good year, really locking it down, as you said, at key points. And so I think you're right. It's probably Suter. And even though he sat out a couple games, I mean, this is a guy who's been there, and he doesn't have a cup or anything, but he has experience. And so I think that's probably the right call. But speaking more generally, I mean, what do you want to see from the Blues in Game 5? And I can go ahead and start, since you just sort of provided a lot of great analysis for us. I think what I want to see is a bit of a stronger start from the Blues. Like, they had a really strong start in game three. You couldn't ask for a much stronger start than what was it, scoring 2 goals in the first like 3 minutes and 11 seconds or something like that. About as good as it gets. And so I'm not expecting that level of strong start, but a little bit better than they did today. Right out of the gate, they looked pretty good. Kind of came out, got a few shots on goal in the first few minutes, but then took a couple of, I don't know, like reckless, maybe you could say, penalties that let the like back to back that let the Jets get back to back power plays, and luckily they didn't convert on either. But that allowed them to sort of begin to dictate the game a little bit more. They did end up getting a goal eventually. They were sort of kind of getting into a flow, getting into a rhythm, and I think it was probably their best first period of the series yet. Obviously, they didn't win, but I think it was their best first period of the series. They let's see, after they killed off uh, their penalty, they went 10-2. Went on a 10-2 run in shots. They came in like pretty heavy too. They were kind of threatening a lot more than you'd like them to. So luckily they were able the Blues were able to shut it down a little bit. Jake Neighbors had a great goal there to get the Blues back in it, and again they never looked back. But in game five, I'm looking for a stronger start from the Blues. This is the second game in a row where they've had, or maybe like the second game in the series at least. There might be a couple more, but that they've had a couple penalties in the first period that you kind of wish you could have back. They've done a good job of cleaning up their game as the game goes on, but there's been a couple games where they've kind of gotten a little bit sloppy, a little bit rough around the edges, and giving up some penalties that they shouldn't. And you just can't give this Jets power play enough time to figure it out. They don't have it figured out right now. They went 0 for 2 again. 0 for 2 again today. Granted, the Jets or the Blues power play didn't score either. But the Blues have done a fantastic job of shutting down the Jets power play. And so in game five, I'm looking for that to continue, but not not based on the penalty kill, which has been good, but just don't give them enough opportunity to figure it out. Keep it clean, keep it physical for sure, but don't take these careless or undisciplined penalties. But also get out of the gate a little stronger. That's what won you game three. So that's what I'm looking for to start out with in game five. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I think you broke that down really well. I do really think that the penalty kill is such a big part of this series,
Yeah.
because it was such a strength of the Jets that if you can, first of all, if you can stay off the penalty, that would be ideal, obviously. But it does feel like the calls have been a little bit more, what's the word? Not lenient. There have been more calls than I would expect for
Yeah.
just both sides. So probably you're going to be down a man at some point. And I think if they can continue to limit the Jets' ability on the power play, that's absolutely going to be huge. Also, I totally agree with what you said about the first period, because that's so important for how this series is right now. The momentum is absolutely all in St. Louis's favor right now. And Jets fans are going to come out to Winnipeg for game five and be loud. They are going to be rowdy, and it is going to be an insane environment. But that's because their back's against the wall here. They know what they're facing if they lose game five at home heading back to St. Louis. And if you can score that first goal, I can guarantee the energy shift in the room will be palpable from the broadcast. So I am absolutely here for a strong start to the game, because I mean, you want to start out any game strong, but especially now, it's really important to maintain that momentum in the series, because that's how we've obviously shown that we can shake Connor Hellebuck. And I think we've started to shake the Jets' entire team too. And you just see their lack of discipline late in the games after these two beatdowns at home. if you can keep that up, even in the first period, throw them off their game with an early goal or scoring first, like the pressure is going to be on in Winnipeg for a President's Trophy winning team, first one in their franchise's history. They already are facing all the pressure in the world, and eyes are on St. Louis right now as real contenders to upset here. So yeah, a strong start in Game 5 would absolutely lead to that. And then last thing I would be looking for is a continual of this defense offense. That didn't make any sense. Of this offense from the defensemen,
Yeah.
continually to build this cycle as they've been able to, and also to just continue to have them be activated and keeping Hellebuck on his toes and keeping him not knowing where shots are going to come from really helps. I really like how they've mixed up their game plans slightly from game to game, but I really want to see them continue to rely on Blues defensemen and then get a guy like Neighbors or Bolduc in front to put one home. And also, I'm still waiting for the Jimmy Snuggerud breakout game because it is coming. I promise it is coming. But yeah.
Yeah. Terrific. And another thing that I want to point out, because this has sort of emerged as a big theme in this series, but I don't know that we have really given it much thought or much time discussion wise, is just forward depth and depth scoring and the disparity that we've seen from these two teams. I mean, Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. I think Kyle Connor, with his goal today, has 3 and leads his team. Scheifele has 2 goals, and then there are 5 other Jets with 1 goal apiece. They're not really scoring at a high rate or at a high level, especially beyond their top line. But the Blues, it's a much different story. You've got Buchnevich with 3, Kyrou with 2. Actually, it hasn't updated from today, so these numbers will be a little bit different. But you've got a lot of scoring. I mean, today was the perfect example of it. You've got a lot of scoring from your depth players and your depth forwards. Yes, Robert Thomas had a goal. Braden Shen had a goal. But the other 3 came from Neighbors, Tucker, and Falk. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. And I think this game, or not this game, this series will be won by whose depth forwards and depth scoring shows out better. And so the Blues have done a really great job of shutting that down defensively, not really letting the Jets depth forwards and depth players, get it going and score. It helps that Vilardi is out and Ehlers is out. Those are sort of their best depth options beyond like maybe Cole Perfetti, but they've done a really good job of shutting down the Jets' depth. And this is something that we identified as a bit of an edge, a bit of an advantage that the Blues had coming in, is just they're a little bit deeper, especially on the forward lines, and you see more contributions from more players on the Blues side. And so love to see that again in here in Game 4. And I'm really looking for them to keep that up offensively, but also continue to limit the Jets from doing the same. But
yeah, I think one more point I want to make here is definitely like the Jets are at this point have their backs against the wall here. They cannot afford to lose another game, especially not another game at home for them. So expect the Jets to be coming out firing. This is going to be, things feel good right now, but this is still like a series. We've evened it and vibes are high right now, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to waltz into Winnipeg and it's going to be an easy win. Like, this is going to have to be a battle. They are going to have to scrap, as they have shown they're able to do, but they're going to have to continue to fight for Game 5 here. Because, yeah, Winnipeg is going to give it their all here. And so don't go into Game 5 complacent. Don't go resting on your laurels, which I don't expect they would do in a place like Winnipeg. But even then, don't go thinking that you have the momentum so you can just ride that and let that be enough. Like, you still need the tenacity and the drive and the push to steal a game on the road. And I think they can do it. That's why this episode has been so exciting. And obviously, after these 2 last flattening games against Winnipeg have been super fun. That it feels like they can do it, but it's a really rowdy environment, and Hellebuck plays well at home too. So I am just throwing caution that don't let this get complacent. This series could still absolutely
Yeah.
go 7.
Yeah. What they've done now is evened it up, right? And we're sort of on a high right now because the Blues just won 2 in a row. But the series is like clean slate here, so they've got momentum on their side. But as you said, don't get complacent thinking that you have it locked down or anything by any means. So yeah, totally agree there. So Game 5 will be played this Wednesday, right on April 30th. Did you see game time? It's like at 8:30 Central Time again. It's just yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Okay,
It's
I'll be
unfortunate.
up.
Yeah, we'll be up again.
Who I
But yeah,
mean, who does the NHL scheduling? And they'll have like 16 games on one night and then like 2 the next. Like,
playoff hockey is the best. Like NHL playoffs is the best playoffs of like all 4 major leagues, right? But their scheduling is by far the worst. It's kind of
they are
crazy.
really screwing the pooch on this one. But
Yeah. Anyways, so Game 5 Wednesday evening, we'll be back in the following days to recap Game 5 either on Thursday or Friday. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back here. We'll be live again to recap Game 5. So if you want to continue to follow our coverage of the Blues playoff run, we're going to keep it rolling as long as it goes. Every game we'll react and preview the next one and provide some pretty consistent analysis. So if you've enjoyed it and if this is something you want to continue to follow, then subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's the best way to help us out, and we really appreciate those that have done that already. Like this video as well. Follow, rate, review wherever you listen. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We love to read those reviews, and you can leave comments on Spotify, and we do read those. We've gotten some great ones throughout the playoff run, so keep that up. We love to see those. And then follow us on socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Note News Pod. We post a lot of great stuff, memes, graphics, short videos, and then we'll announce when we go live, so you can be sure to never miss an episode and continue to join the discussion. We love to see the chat active today. We've really liked it. This is one of our most fun episodes when it comes to the chat and you viewers. So we really appreciate the engagement throughout. So keep it up. And we'll see you next time here on Note News. And let's go Blues.
let's go Blues.